How many have heard that the college years are the best time of a person's life? Let's see a show of hands. Looks like just about everybody. How many have said it? How many have said that? So, okay. How many believe it? Okay, everybody's heard it. Some have said it. It's really a question about who believes it. I think this is a way of thinking that's pervasive in our culture, and it's well intended. But I think it has consequences that we don't understand very well. It raises expectations of people, and they're often don't live up to the reality. The reality doesn't live up to the expectations. I want to see if I can get you to rethink this stage of life and another stage of life tonight in a way that I think could have great benefits for the future for all of us. I'm teaching first-year English this semester. I have 20 delightful students in what we typically call a freshman comp class. And I pulled them on the first day of class, much as I did here this evening. They all also had been told that the college years were the best of their lives, most of them by their parents. But they didn't have to hear it from their parents in order to hear it. Because at freshman convocation 2 days earlier, they heard it from our current president, Kevin Clayton. I guess that being a college student is better than being a college president. Now, we say that the college years are the best of our lives, but do we know what that means? I really don't. I think I have an idea, but I'm not really sure what it means. So I asked some people. I started with Lehigh faculty. And this is a pretty typical answer, right? Intellectual adventure. I asked Lehigh staff, professional staff who work with students, the same thing, a range of disciplines, really more on the intellectual adventure theme. Then I asked some other people. Students think it's a chance to really have fun. Students in the audience, let me get some help. What do you think when you think that college is the best years of your life? You can call out. Fun? Intellectual adventure? Who says fun? Who says intellectual adventure? Ooh, a lot of hands go down. So, all right, good. All right. Well, here's what another student said. Here's another view. But there's another thing that we think about when we think about college. And this also came to students at the freshman convocation this year. Highly esteemed Professor Keith Shray of the chemistry department said this. He told the students on their first day on campus that they were not prepared, that they have to work so much harder than they ever thought they could. Work like crazy, get knocked down, get back up again. Once again, I think this was probably meant to inspire students, right? I get a little scared just reading it myself, okay? I can imagine students first arriving on campus. But there's more. Don't we tell students that they should go off and have fun, it's the best years of your life, but don't we implicitly let them know that it's their one shot to be successful in life? You got to get the GPA, you got to get the experience, build the resume, have the internships, because if you blow college, okay, your chances of success in life dwindle. I believe that. I think a lot of the Lehigh students do. How do we respond to this? Well, in my first year class, I had my students write, the first paper was a narrative. And one of my students wrote her narrative about coming to college. This student she's bright, she's poised, outwardly confident. I would say for this time of this semester, she's as good a writer as any student I've had the pleasure of teaching in 20 years. I'm going to give you a little time to read this. How could I take off someone for saying it scares the shit out of me? This student, elsewhere in the paper, expresses terror, terrified of being here at college. She's coming to the best years of her life, and she's terrified. Last chance for intellectual adventure, last chance to have fun. I mean, if this is the best, does that mean it's all downhill from 22 or 23? Higher expectations than ever. Only chance to be successful in life. And we wonder why you drink. Is this stuff true? I'm questioning it right now, more than I was when I was practicing this talk. My experience says it's not. I mean, there's some truths, but the truths are conflicting. So for example, for me, when I went off to college, I went off thinking that I had to do important things that serious men do. I had to be a professional. Doctor, lawyer, they were the tops. Engineer would also be good. College professor, marginally acceptable. And because of that, I never really thought. I didn't feel free to think about what I really wanted to do. To be honest, if someone had asked me if I had the courage to answer honestly, I would have said I wanted to be an artist, a painter. There was no room for intellectual adventure for me. I did not take a single studio art course. As a matter of fact, I did not pick up a paintbrush from the age of 14 to the age of 24. What's more, intellectual adventure, I didn't start reading until I was out of college when I finally had some time to read all the books I heard were so great. And that changed everything. Finally, as far as having a chance for being successful in life, well, getting accepted to medical school and not going did not dash my chances. As a matter of fact, I didn't go back to graduate school until 12 years later at the age of 35 with 3 kids at home in diapers and a lovely wife. And we're still married. Why do we do this to young people? I'm going to answer this in a bit. But first, I want to look at the stages of life. I want to look at 2. The one I've already talked about, young people, college-age people, maybe late high school through college to the early 20s. The expectations that we put upon them with the promises of what will happen if they work hard enough. And 2, I want to look at the people who do this to them. I would say people who are 55 to 70, my age, the age of many of our professors, many of our deans, our college president. I think this person has expectations and problems as well. And what are they? Someone gets to be my age, you're aware that we live in a youth-obsessed culture, right? When someone says, he's old, like that's not good. Someone does say, he's old, right? Okay? It's not a good thing, okay? And we're also increasingly aware for the first time in our lives of our mortality. We hear about college friends, old friends who have gotten sick and died. We feel aches and pains ourselves. We can't do the things we used to do, so we become aware of possible illness as well. The physical decline. Also, we have senior moments, okay? And that builds a fear of eventual cognitive decline in the form of Alzheimer's, dementia. God, I think the young kids have it much, much better. Dwindling options, right? We get in a career path. When I changed at 35, it was doable. To change later on seems impossible to everybody. And also, once you've been doing the same thing for so long, the possibilities dwindle as well. A couple years ago, my wife brought home a saying on a magnet for the refrigerator. And there it is. That's a picture of our refrigerator. It says, in case you can't read it, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you are? I looked at that day after day, and in conjunction with a couple other things happening in my own life, it made me think about some things. And I'm still working it out, so I'm a little fuzzy here tonight still and trying to get a handle on this. But I interpret that as, how old would you be? How would you go about living your life if you didn't feel confined to the expectations that people have placed upon you, whether you're 19, 20, 21, or 50 or 60? What are the challenges? Well, I'm going to talk about the challenges from the latter perspective, from my perspective, and trying to rethink what it means to be my age. We are poorly evolved for modern society. We still actually, we have what's called a negativity bias, okay, and that helped us a lot when we spent most of our time trying not to be eaten while finding something to eat. Okay, well, maybe that's a snake or a root. It might be a snake. Stay away. Okay, we survived much better if we tone in on the negative. Okay, that kept us alive. But also, the fight or flight mechanism was really big. Okay, our adrenal glands are too big. We go into fight or flight over someone cutting us off on the highway when it used to be survival. We need calories. Okay, we are easily addicted to calorie-rich foods, sugar and fat and salt. And so we get this. And we have stress. And we live a sedentary lifestyle. Boy, do we live a sedentary lifestyle. And healthcare is not healthcare. Healthcare is sick care. No one is there to take care of you, to keep you healthy. We wait till you get sick, and then you go get surgery or medication. Both. The healthcare industry this year was $3.8 trillion. There's a lot of money in sick people. We're isolated. You know, we were told that the internet would bring us all together, a global community, but people stayed at home waiting for likes on Facebook, watching Netflix hour after hour. And we wait for our ship to come in. Okay? We think that happiness is something that happens to us. Okay, we are most productive when we're happy. So what can be done? We've learned so much about the power of intention that to combat our poorly evolved selves. Neuroplasticity, exercise, nutrition. Eat your veggies is good advice. Okay? Simply switching to a plant-based diet and doing a little exercise could make our number one killer, cardiovascular disease, which takes 600,000 people a year, could make it basically go away, make it consigned to a rare congenital disease that no one would have to worry about. We also have learned that the single best thing you can do for your mind, you can take up Sudoku, you can take up a foreign language, you can learn a new instrument, but the best thing you can do for your brain is to exercise your body. Mindfulness meditation, the simple act of focusing on the present moment without judgment, relieves stress. It helps short-term memory. You can actually change your brain. The lining of the cerebral cortex, which thins with people who have Alzheimer's and dementia, with long-time meditators, is actually thicker. Combats age. And there's tons of research about this. And then happiness. You know, we've always thought this happiness is something that happened to us, that you found or was determined by your external circumstances. But now we know that happiness is actually something we make for ourselves. Dan Gilbert discovered that he cites a study in his book that discovered that people who have a crippling disease and end up in a wheelchair, and people who win the lottery are equally happy 1 year later. So, I sort of saw myself as a little experiment. And I changed my way of living in some first little ways, and then increasingly more as I began to say, how could I change my way of living, my way of seeing my place in the world? So I get up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning now. I stretch and meditate, have coffee and tea, have that great breakfast, oatmeal with fruit, better than anybody's donut. I become a bicycle commuter, so I bike to work. First thing I do is I get to the gym, work out for a half hour, because I'm all warmed up, go to the office. By the time I hit my desk at 9, I'm feeling really good, really revved up. I actually take a 20-minute nap, I meditate a couple times a day, and I eat well throughout the day. At the end of the day, I head home and have a great meal like that. I spend time with my wife of 30 years, the person who I most admire in the world. I'm lucky to spend a lot of time with. And what are the results? Well, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, if I'm here to say, oh, I'm doing great, right? Well, how does anybody know that, right? That's also when you are feeling better. It's kind of like, do you ever notice when you have a headache, you hate the headache, but when it goes away, you don't notice, and sometime later you say, I feel better, okay? Well, so there's one way that I can show you. Okay, I'm a little bit embarrassed about this. I really am, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's me circa 1980. 23 or 24, college wrestling coach. I would like to have some of that hair back and not have it be on my back. Pretty fit and feeling pretty good. I have another picture of me taken about 35 years later, a couple days before my 58th birthday, which was yesterday. That's right there. Now, I am embarrassed, but here's the thing. Here's a couple things I want to say. The guy on the right is stronger than the guy on the left. He has more muscle. Conventional wisdom says that from the age of 35 on, every decade you lose 5 pounds of muscle. The guy on the right is stronger. The guy on the right also has a lower resting pulse, a pulse of about 50. All right? I'm hoping that I can reevaluate my stage of life, but not just for me. Also, the guy who wants to be a painter doesn't have to worry about not being one. He is one. This is what I do on nights and weekends sometimes. Why does this matter? I think it matters deeply. You know, we've found ways to help people live longer, medical science, but not stay healthy, right? But I have another reminder. This is my 95-year-old mother-in-law who lives with us. I'm not talking about pretending we're not going to get older. I'm talking about rethinking age. I'm talking about this and why. This is half the students in my first year class, and they are delightful people. They're wonderful. What I'm hoping to do is to see if we can find a way of letting young people off the hook of these high expectations. Give them a break. Give them some room. Don't put so much pressure on them. I think we do it out of good intentions because we have regrets about our own lives and we fear the future. And we put it all on the younger people. I think we need to cut them a break. I think in order to do that, we need to do something which is even harder, which is cut ourselves a break. Thank you.